Usually when we talk about a data leak, there's this expectation of it being entirely digital,
Right.
almost invisible, really.
Right. You imagine like lines of code or scrambled passwords.
Exactly. Or maybe a massive list of credit card numbers just floating around on some dark web forum, which is terrible, obviously, but it feels so confined to the screen.
Yeah, you're conditioned to think of it as just abstract ones and zeros. It feels like a math problem happening in a server room somewhere, far away.
But then you step into the world of real-time location data, and suddenly that invisible digital problem jumps right off the screen and into physical reality.
Yeah.
I mean, we are looking at a cybersecurity landscape that is actively driving a 3-ton truck down the highway right next to you.
Oh, absolutely. It is the absolute definition of a physical threat masquerading as a digital one.
Eh.
And the moment those two worlds collide, well, the stakes completely change.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking you through a really fascinating and honestly highly unsettling analytical report on something called the Teletrac Navman claim.
Yeah, it details an alleged massive data breach in the Australian and New Zealand fleet tracking industry.
Right. But here is our mission for you as we navigate this today. We aren't just here to report the news of a potential hack. We are going to extract 3 crucial universal lessons about location data security.
And these are lessons that apply to you, whether you manage a corporate fleet, drive a company vehicle, or, even just rely on rideshare and delivery apps.
Yeah, regardless of whether this specific hacker's claims turn out to be entirely true or just, well, smoke and mirrors.
Which is key, right? Because the true value of the sources we are unpacking today isn't in the panic of the headline.
No, not at all.
The real value is in the rare spotlight it shines on a completely mundane category of data that organizations routinely ignore. I mean, they treat it as background noise until, of course, they can't.
Okay, let's unpack this because there is a giant asterisk hanging over this entire story, and we really need to hold that asterisk up high right from the start.
We definitely do.
We are going to maintain strict discipline today in separating alleged claims from confirmed facts.
And that discipline is notoriously hard to maintain when big, scary numbers start getting thrown around on the internet. Human nature kind of dictates that we want to instantly react to the worst-case scenario.
Oh, 100%. Which is why, before we get into the physical danger of this data, we have to establish exactly what is being claimed.
Right, the actual scope of it.
And importantly, what is still unconfirmed. So let's start with the target. If you aren't familiar with Teletrac Navman, they are a massive fleet telematics provider.
So in practical terms, they provide the hardware and the software that sits inside vehicles.
The little black boxes.
Exactly. We are talking about trucks, delivery vans, utility vehicles, heavy mining machinery. These boxes track exactly where a vehicle is, how fast it's being driven, the engine performance, the braking patterns, literally everything.
And their client list is incredibly heavy duty. We are talking about local city councils, massive transport companies, and major mining and construction operators across Australia and New Zealand.
It's a huge footprint.
So that's the company. Now here is the claim. In early July, a hacker using the handle LaserScript posted on a criminal forum, and they claim to have captured a rolling, real-time 48-hour feed of GPS data from late June.
Wow.
And they said this was taken directly from Teletrac Navman's production systems.
Okay, we need to pause on the phrase production systems for a second because that is a vital technical detail.
Right, explain that for us.
When a hacker claims they breached a backup server, they're usually getting old, stale data. It's like stealing last year's phone book. But a production system is the live, beating heart of a company's software.
It's happening right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is the engine room processing the live tracking data at this exact second. If someone taps into that, they aren't looking at history, they're watching the present unfold.
And a rolling 48-hour feed means this wasn't just a static snapshot either. The claim is that they essentially hooked a digital hose up to that engine room and siphoned off a continuous stream of live data for 2 full days.
Which is terrifying. And the hacker put some highly specific and frankly staggering numbers on this alleged haul. They didn't just say, we have a lot of data.
Right. According to the seller's numbers, and remember our asterisk, these are unconfirmed, we are looking at 670,000 individual GPS position records.
Wow.
They claim this data belongs to nearly 3,000 customer organizations. It allegedly includes 8,000 named drivers and over 30,000 vehicles.
It's just massive.
And it's not just dots on a map. The claim says this feed includes vehicle identification numbers, registrations, driver emails, phone numbers, and actual driver's licenses.
And see, the comprehensive nature of that data profile is what elevates this from a nuisance to a full-blown crisis.
How so?
Well, it's tying a specific human being, complete with their contact info and license, to a specific vehicle at a specific geographic coordinate in real time.
And the seller didn't stop at just listing numbers either. They named names. They listed specific organizations they claim are caught up in this data.
Which is always the part that gets people panicking.
Absolutely. This list included a major Queensland City Council, New Zealand's state-owned rail operator, one of Australia's top private rail freight companies, a big water and waste business, and the Pilbara operations, a massive mining giant.
I mean, that is a target list purpose-built to make journalists and corporate boards sit up and pay attention. It touches critical national infrastructure.
But we must return to that asterisk we mentioned.
Yes, the asterisk.
Because as of the reporting in our source material, neither Teletrac Navman nor the OAIC, that's the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner, has confirmed this breach.
Right.
The OAIC wouldn't even confirm or deny receiving a notification. Now, journalists did get their hands on a data sample provided by the seller, and those reporters found the sample to be, quote, credible.
What's fascinating here is the psychology of data breach reporting and how quickly a plausible claim morphs into accepted fact in the public consciousness.
Oh, it happens instantly.
Exactly. But there is a massive, incredibly important nuance between a journalist saying, hey, this data sample looks structurally legitimate, and a forensic investigator confirming that data was actually exfiltrated.
Meaning unauthorized data was proven to have been smuggled out of the network.
Right. Proven to have left the network on a specific date. Credible does not equal verified.
To help visualize this credible but unconfirmed status, think of it this way. It's like someone standing on the street corner claiming they have the master key to your highly secure apartment building.
Okay, I like this.
Now, you haven't actually seen them open a door yet, but the key they are holding up to the light looks incredibly intricate, it has all the right grooves, it looks completely real. That is absolutely enough reason to go home and urgently check your locks. But it doesn't mean the building has actually been robbed yet.
That is a perfect analogy. And if someone is holding that key up to the light and you immediately call the press to announce your building is completely compromised without checking your cameras first, you are basically doing the criminal's PR work for them.
Yep.
Giving them all the leverage.
Everything about the size of this breach and those big named victims is currently just the attacker's claim.
But you know, the reason this unconfirmed claim commands our attention, though, isn't just the sheer volume of those numbers.
No, it's what the data actually represents.
Exactly. The underlying nature of this data demands a total shift in how we think about cybersecurity. We have to transition our thinking from digital privacy to physical safety.
As the source material points out quite bluntly, a spreadsheet of names leaking is a privacy problem. It's frustrating, sure, and it might lead to spam or phishing.
Which is annoying, but fine.
Right. But a live, real-time feed of exactly where thousands of specific vehicles are located right now, that crosses a very dark line into a physical safety problem.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I think it pushes back on everything you and I are traditionally taught about staying safe online.
How do you mean? Well, we are drilled constantly to fear the hacker stealing our credit card digits or our social security numbers or stealing our identity to open a fraudulent bank account. We guard our passwords with our lives.
Right, all that standard digital hygiene.
But this is uniquely terrifying because it jumps off the computer screen and into the geographic world. These are real people carrying real assets whose coordinates are suddenly a matter of public record for anyone willing to pay for it on a criminal forum.
It's sobering. Let's look at the mechanics of what a logistics of vulnerability actually looks like in the real world.
Yeah, let's break that down.
If someone has access to a live telematics feed, they know the real-time location of a cash-in-transit van. They know exactly when a lone utility worker drives out to an isolated rural substation where there is, zero cell service.
Or the shift patterns of an isolated mining crew.
Exactly. That data is a literal turn-by-turn roadmap for theft, for stalking, or for an ambush.
Let's make this personal for a second. If you are listening to this and you drive a company car or you work for a local council or you just use a rideshare app, there is a digital bridge connecting your physical body to a server somewhere.
You're a dot on someone's map.
The overarching lesson here is that location tracking data must be treated with the same high-level, rigorous security protocols as a bank vault holding millions of dollars. But historically, companies have treated it as a totally boring, low-priority operational feed.
And the why behind that negligence really comes down to corporate perception.
Mm.
Companies view telematics purely as a business efficiency tool.
Right, it's just logistics to them.
They buy this software to save on gas mileage, to optimize delivery routes, to make sure drivers aren't idling the engines for too long. They look at it entirely through the lens of cost savings.
They see a spreadsheet of fuel savings, not a map of human beings.
Precisely. What they fail to recognize is that by installing these tracking systems, they have essentially built a live surveillance apparatus.
Wow, yeah.
And any surveillance apparatus inherently carries severe physical risks if it is intercepted. When a hacker taps that feed, they aren't tracking a truck, they are tracking a person.
When you visualize that level of invasive detail, it forces you to look at how this data is gathered in the first place. Which leads us to our next major question.
Which is?
How could an alleged attack hit vastly different organizations simultaneously? Looking at that list of named targets, a local Queensland council, a New Zealand rail operator, a Pilbara mining giant, these organizations have nothing in common operationally.
Not at all.
So how do they all end up bleeding data on the same dark web forum at the exact same moment?
This requires us to look under the hood at the architecture of modern digital supply chains. The critical detail here is that these affected organizations did not have their individual corporate networks hacked.
So the local council didn't have a rogue employee click a bad link that brought down their firewalls.
Exactly. And the mining giant didn't have a weak password on their main servers. They all shared one central provider, which is Teletrac Navman.
To put this in perspective for you, it's like an entire neighborhood getting together and deciding, hey, instead of buying expensive safes for our individual houses, let's pool our resources and store all of our family jewelry in one massive, heavily guarded central vault at the end of the street.
That's a great way to look at it.
Now, on paper, that central vault is probably much more secure than your flimsy bedroom closet, but it also paints a giant glowing bullseye on that one building. It means if the guards at that vault fail, or if a thief finds a back door, the entire neighborhood is robbed simultaneously.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, and you're going to hand your family jewelry over to that vault, you had better be aggressively interrogating the guards.
Right.
In the digital world, this is the paradox of shared platforms. When you use a centralized third-party platform, you are completely inheriting their security posture. The software bridges, often called APIs that connect the vendor's central hub to the local council's dashboard, create a continuous pipeline of data.
And for a hacker, breaking into that one central platform is the holy grail. It equals thousands of victims instantly.
Yep.
Now, the source material is clear that this isn't a reason to panic and abandon these useful tools entirely. Telematics are genuinely necessary for modern logistics. You can't run a national rail freight company on paper maps and guesswork.
Right. They're essential tools now.
But it absolutely requires organizations to fundamentally change how they interact with their vendors. You can no longer just sign a software contract, install the black boxes, and assume it's safe. You have to ask the provider hard, uncomfortable questions.
Specifically, you need to understand the mechanics of the digital plumbing. You need to ask, how exactly is this data secured as it travels from the truck to the server?
Is the feed encrypted both in transit through the air and at rest when it sits on the database?
Yes. And who at your software company has access to the live feed? Can a low-level customer support rep see where every cash-in-transit van in the country is located?
And critically, how fast will we be notified if a breach happens? Not, will you notify us eventually, but how fast?
If a tech provider cannot crisply and immediately answer those technical questions about encryption and access protocols, like if they hesitate, or hand you over to a PR person who gives you marketing speak instead of technical answers, their silence tells you absolutely everything you need to know about their internal security culture.
So let's say the absolute worst happens. The central vault's alarm is ringing. Understanding these massive supply chain vulnerabilities is great in theory, but it forces us to confront the discipline of crisis response.
Which is rarely pretty.
Exactly. When the inevitable happens and a hacker posts a terrifying headline number involving your company's highly sensitive physical location data on a dark web forum, well, how do you react?
The source material outlines the two absolute worst things an organization can do in this scenario.
Okay.
The first is to ignore the claim entirely. Burying your head in the sand, hoping the news cycle moves on, and assuming the problem will vanish is guaranteed to make the fallout worse.
And the second?
The second, which is equally damaging, is to completely overreact to a criminal's headline numbers and start making definitive public statements before you've done the internal forensic investigation.
So what does this all mean? Let me challenge you on this, actually, because I think we need to be realistic about corporate pressure.
Sure, go ahead.
If you are speaking directly to the listener right now, and let's say they are an executive who just woke up, poured their coffee, and saw their company trending on a hacker forum because a criminal claims to have all their drivers' live coordinates.
A nightmare scenario.
Total nightmare. Their stock price is actively taking a hit. The public is terrified. Isn't the instinct to immediately tweet out a firm denial actually the most logical business move in the short term to stop the bleeding? I mean, why shouldn't they defend their reputation instantly?
This raises an important question about the psychology of crisis management. That instinct to issue a blanket denial is self-preservation, and it is entirely human. But giving in to that instinct is often corporate suicide. If you panic and issue a definitive public denial at 8 a.m. to save your stock price, and then 3 days later, the forensic investigators look at the server logs and prove the hackers were telling the truth.
Oh, you're toast.
You haven't just lost data. You have completely destroyed your trust with the public, your customers, and your own employees.
You essentially prove that you either lied to cover it up or you were so incompetent that you didn't even know you were breached when you said you were safe.
Precisely. You have also potentially painted your company into a severe legal corner with regulators. The proper response protocol is all about operational discipline.
Which means what, exactly?
It requires you to be calm and methodical. You take the claim seriously, you do not dismiss it, but you investigate hard and fast to find out what, if anything, actually left your systems. The golden rule of crisis management is you must verify before you testify.
It requires treating the situation as a complex operational failure to be systematically solved rather than like an emotional attack on your brand that needs to be instantly defended.
And that operational discipline extends to communication.
Yeah.
You have to be honest and prompt with the affected people about what is genuinely known and, just as importantly, what is still unknown.
Which is hard for companies to admit.
Very hard. But saying, we are investigating a credible claim and have locked down our systems, but we cannot yet confirm the extent of the exfiltration, well, that is a legally and ethically sound statement. Saying we were not hacked is a massive gamble.
The source material also puts a heavy emphasis on customer rights in this exact scenario. If you are a customer of a massive software provider that's been named in a breach claim like this, it is completely fair and frankly expected for you to directly demand answers about what is being done.
You don't have to wait passively for a press release.
A methodical, disciplined response is the only thing that prevents criminals from controlling the narrative.
Stripping the emotion out of the response is how you survive the first 48 hours of a cyber crisis.
Treat it as an operational failure, not an emotional attack. Okay, let's bring this all together. We've covered a lot of vital ground today, tracking the anatomy of this Teletrac Navman claim.
We really have.
We've learned that when you deal with live GPS coordinates, location data isn't just a matter of digital privacy. It is deeply physical data that dictates real-world safety.
And we've broken down how centralized software platforms create massive domino effects in the digital supply chain, meaning one compromised vendor can expose thousands of completely unrelated businesses through a single backdoor.
Right. And we've learned that surviving the inevitable breach requires stripping the panic and emotion out of your response, demanding hard answers from your vendors, and maintaining strict operational discipline to verify the facts before you testify to the public.
It really is a masterclass in the harsh realities of modern data security, all sparked by a sweeping claim that we still, to this moment, have to keep a giant asterisk next to.
And this is where we turn the spotlight over to you. I want to challenge you to look at your own operational data today. Whether you manage a massive fleet or just use software that tracks your daily route, ask yourself, where does that data go?
Who holds the keys to the vault?
And how is it actually protected? If you've never really thought about the telematics or location data flowing continuously through your business, or what you would do if a software provider told you it leaked onto the dark web, well, this is your wake-up call.
Definitely.
As explicitly mentioned in the source material we explored today, if you are looking to talk through your security and IT needs and figure out where your vulnerabilities lie, you can visit www.kinsoft.com.au to start that review. As the source's mantra goes, stay patched, stay skeptical.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one final lingering concept to mull over on your own time.
I'm intrigued.
We've talked extensively today about how incredibly dangerous this tracking data is to physical safety when it gets intercepted by bad actors. But perhaps the ultimate security question isn't just how to build a thicker digital vault or how to encrypt this data better.
What's the alternative?
Perhaps we need to ask a much harder foundational question. Should companies be endlessly collecting and storing such invasive real-time surveillance on their employees in the first place?
Are we creating incredibly dangerous honeypots simply because the tracking technology exists and it saves a few dollars on gas?
Are the marginal efficiency gains really worth the catastrophic physical risk?
It's a heavy question to weigh. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.